We have Maurice Omolo, Director at ProLand Realtors. Thank you so much for coming in. A lot of questions surrounding this particular case. Not the first one, unfortunately, but when you're talking of billions of shillings, 53,000 members, the first question is, when do they actually get justice? How do they go about this in terms of getting their money back?
All right, I think the biggest problem that we've had is we are trying to solve problems that have already occurred. We are almost always at curative mode rather than preventative mode. Okay, the way I'm looking at it is that we must look at it, we have to look at the bigger picture. So there is the short-term solution, which of course now involves the DCI, the regulators, and all those stakeholders that are involved. And then now, what do we have to do today so that it doesn't happen tomorrow? Remember, this is not the first scandal that has happened. Today is the SACCOs, tomorrow is another group, another, and at the end of the day, it's members of the public who are suffering because housing is a basic need. And at the moment, everybody wants to own a house, okay? And not everybody can afford it. So anybody who comes up with a solution for getting a house at a very cheap price, then of course, members of the public would be very gullible to it, and they will bounce to it without even consulting. But looking at the stakeholders that are involved, from the authorities and all that, one missing link is that there has been a disengagement with professionals. And this is why we have to look at which professionals have to be brought so that we move ahead without having such situations. As I sit here, apart from being a private practitioner, I'm also a council member of the Institution of Surveyors of Kenya. And we've been having this discussion all through. And we've been saying that, not that people are not aware that they are professionals. It's only that the deal sometimes it's so good for them, okay? So the authorities have the responsibility to protect the public against, all these people that you're hearing about. And at this point, we have to engage professionals right from the source. Right. Okay. Like for example, now, if you look at the Institution of Surveyors of Kenya, we have the surveyors. Okay. The surveyors are now the guys who, mark the beacons, show you the boundaries and the subdivision plans and all those things. If you're a member of a SACCO and your SACCO has bought land somewhere and it wants to sell it to you, there are some basic questions that you need to ask. What am I buying? Okay? Yeah. So the first thing, if you've not actually done a subdivision, there's always an approved subdivision scheme that is initially done by a planner. So this subdivision scheme at least shows you where the plot you're buying is, and it has been approved by the planning department of the county government.
Yeah, Maurice, you mentioned the deal being too good to be true.
Yes.
And that's the case in a lot of these situations. Are people that vulnerable that when they see someone who's like a Pied Piper, they all follow suit blindly?
I think, Jeff, to be honest, I think because home ownership is a big deal to everybody. Everybody wants a piece of title. Everybody wants a title. At whatever age, be young or old, and at some point, and I think that's a need that has to be met. Of course, I'm sure even government has already thought about that's the reason why we have affordable housing right now. But of course, again, with that, the biggest question we need to ask ourselves is what is affordable in urban areas and what is affordable in rural areas? I mean, in the areas where this thing has happened, of course, you can't tell somebody affordable house is 3 million shillings. They won't afford it. Okay, but if you tell them, put a deposit of 20,000 here, and then after some time, we'll give you the keys to a house. Then very quickly, they'll put in their money.
Right. And those are some of the telltale signs when it comes to putting your money into some scheme. If they promise a quick return on your money, or too good to be true kind of investment. But in terms of licensing, documentation, certificates that you should look out for from your SACCO, what should someone actually see before putting their money into this institution?
Well, first of all, I think the usual registration from the relevant ministry. For example, in this case for SACCOs is the Ministry of Trade, Industry and cooperatives. Okay, that if you're running a back office SACCO, if it's front office, then you have to go through SASTRA. They must get all those licenses. That is one. The next thing is, now if you're going to go into purchasing property, okay, definitely we're talking about a big number of people, members in a SACCO, so that means that if your SACCO is buying land, it's definitely going to be a big piece of land, okay? So you always have to insist to see the main title, okay? Where, of course, you're going to subdivide and build the houses, okay? And if you're not going to subdivide, what ownership documents are you going to give members, okay? Right now, of course, that has also brought into play what we call the Sectional Properties Act, okay? Which, of course, is now at the moment being discussed at cabinet level, and which, again, was a document that was pioneered by the Institution of Surveyors of Kenya. And that is, of course, to improve or to make efficient the delivery of the affordable housing. So in that case, you see professionals were put in place, and legislation is actually being changed so that, you know, as we go ahead and implement this, then it's well thought out. But in this case where we have a group, a company, a SACCO, and all these, in as much as there's a regulation in terms of the registration, but the going-ins within the operations of those institutions are not regulated at all. Because really the SACCO, the next day, it's a private company which has been registered by the Companies Act. But at the end of the day, what are these guys doing? And what are they doing with people's money?
Yeah, Morris, I'm sure a lot of these SACCO members are watching us right now.
Yes.
Watching you. And they're wondering, couldn't I put all this money in this? Am I ever going to get my money back? This guy, Gakuya guy, is busy selling off his assets. Am I going to get my money back?
I really sympathize with them. I really sympathize with them. And it's a situation where we can't really blame them. In as much as they were gullible in the beginning, we can't really blame them, and we have to put that blame on the authorities. And they need to really style up, for lack of a better word. And they really have to do a lot of stakeholder engagements with the right people. And because at the moment now, right now, they're left in the hands of, you know, fate. Whether they're going to get their money back or not, nobody knows. Right. Whether or not the perpetrators will go, you know, to jail or what, it doesn't really matter. I've seen people, I mean, I've put in 100,000 to a small-scale trader is a lot of money. Maybe you'll be told you can only get 20% of it, or maybe 50% of it. Sometimes you might not get the whole amount. So it's just a learning curve. And I hope Kenyans have watched this and they're seeing this, because this is not the first time this is happening. Okay, and I hope they're not going to put their money in. And
what about alternatives? Because last year you saw the CBK SASRA, as you were mentioning earlier, warning people of SACCOs like this or pyramid schemes. And someone could be watching thinking, a SACCO is too risky for me right now. Where else can I invest? Where else could I own and buy land? Are there other options?
Honestly, real estate is an expensive affair, and collective investment right now is the way to go, especially for small-scale traders or, you know, people who have low incomes. And the best way, from my point of view, is investment groups. The good thing about investment groups is that you are self-regulated. Okay, you're self-regulated, and you have a common goal. Okay. And with this, of course, putting in governance structures is the key. Once you've put your governance structure properly, then you would not go wrong you not miss it by a very big margin.
Are those chamas?
Now, we have chamas, okay? And chamas could be part of it, okay? And chamas are close-knit you know, organizations where, you know, for example, now if you decide to have one within Citizen, I mean, Jeff, you know, and you would not definitely want to, you know, but it's more close-knit and more, you know, trustworthy.
Intimate, yes.
Intimate, outside the government, the governance structure. But where you are not intimate with anything, where you're just told, put your money, you wait. Okay, the next thing, add more money, and then wait. 5 years down the line, you've been putting in money, nothing has come out of it. You see, it becomes, and you can't ask anyone any question. There's no face to it.
Correct.
So any organization that you get involved in, or any collective investment group that you get into, there has to be somebody that you can actually face and ask, where is my money?
Hold accountable.
Who can you hold accountable?
There was a guy in America called Bernie Madoff, remember?
Oh yes,
Ponzi
made off
scheme.
with a lot of money.
People's money.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing. Same thing. 2.6 billion is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Absolutely.
That's very sad.
Maurice Omondi, we'll have to leave it at that. Thanks so much for your time.
you
Maurice
very much
Omondi,
for
Director
having me.
ProLand Investors Realtors Limited.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Time
much.
for a break, Victoria?
Absolutely. We'll be right back. Stay with us.